Look, if you're a video game fan, you have definitely played one of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater Series games. I know I have. Well, now there's a documentary about the making of that video game series. We're going to talk to the filmmakers right now. Welcome to the Film Threat Podcast. I am Chris Gore. I am pleased to talk to the filmmakers behind Pretending I'm a Superman, which is a documentary about the Tony Hawk Pro Skater video game series. Ludvig Gür, the director of the film, and Ralph D'Amato, the producer. I saw this movie at the it was at the Mammoth Film Festival at its premiere, and this was in March.
February.
It was in February. Okay,
Last
this was
September.
yeah. It's right around there. It's right around there. But it was like that feels like 3 years ago. It feels like 3 years ago that the movie premiered. But this is when we would go to the movies in person and we would interact with
back
people. Back in the day, movie theaters. But it was great. I mean, that was the last film festival I actually got to attend, and I was really honored to be able to go to the premiere of the film. Tony Hawk was there. A lot of the skaters that are in the movie were at the screening. Now the movie's coming out on VOD, which is how I watch everything these days. And I love it because I got a pretty sweet setup. Where did this project come from? How did you guys get together? And how did you take on this monumental task to basically document what is one of the best-selling, most popular video games of all time?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but I can kind of encapsulate it, and Ludvig will throw some fan of the game. Yeah, he's been a huge fan of the game. I worked on the first 8 titles of the Tony Hawk series. And after working with a fellow developer, I think it was 2013 on a mobile game, I kind of thought, hey, the nostalgia has kind of died down for the games. It'd be great to tell the story of the video game and how a small amount of developers created this franchise and it sort of exploded. So that kind of was in my mind. And then along the lines, I checked out Ludvig's YouTube channel and saw one of his videos that was just mind blowing. He had so much detail in this history of Tony Hawk video games. It was just kind of crazy. So I watched it. I forwarded it to Tony, a couple other people, and my wife was the one that kind of urged me to send him a message. And so
So kind of like a Tinder date. You met over the you met over the internet, kind of like online dating.
Yeah, totally, man.
Yeah.
So Ludvig,
a little bit of that. Yeah.
So you've been doing these videos for a while. When you got this message from Ralph, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it was mind blowing. I remember it actually. It was Super Bowl 2014, I think. And I actually showed it to my brother right away. Me and him had spent a lot of time making that amateur documentary about Tony Hawk Pro Skater. And we were just like, whoa, this is so cool. And I looked up, my old game manuals to just check, is this guy legit? And it's like, yes, it's on every single game. That is true. And it's saying you can even play as him in Tony Hawk 3 and Underground. This is so cool. And, it was awesome, man. And, the rest is history.
Well, and it was kind of funny. I think one of the first things he asked me is, hey, did you happen to send it to Tony? And I had, but Tony had already seen the video. He saw it before.
Yeah. Which was super cool.
Kind of a trip.
Yeah.
What is it about? I mean, I remember, first of all, I have to admit, I'm not a skater. I cannot skate. But for some reason, I got sucked into playing that video game. I don't know what it was. And I really think that not only did the game bring in gamers, I know that it popularized and it got people interested in skateboarding. And then it made the thing about the game that really struck me, and I love that you cover this in the doc, is that there's an authenticity, to it. And these pro skaters were real skaters, right? And the tricks that they performed were real tricks that were invented. Tell me what was it like? Were you guys just sucked in? And also I want to talk about Tony Hawk later. Maybe you guys, I thought he was going to be on this. Maybe one of you guys can get him over, he can join our chat, or you can text him. It would be cool to talk to Tony, but like
busier than ours, I think.
But the game was there was nothing like it. I mean, like, yeah, there's shooter games and sports games in this. There's certain genres of games. This was a milestone. I mean, it was a game changer, literally a game changer.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously, you know, there had been skateboarding games in the past, like 720, Top Skater, Skate or Die, and you know, like you said, Chris, you know, those games were fun to play, but they didn't have the authenticity that, you know, 29 per Skater had. So when Chad Musker, for example, was approached about 29 per Skater, his thoughts were exactly that, like, wow, now I actually get to play a game where, you know, these are people I know, these are tricks that I perform, and these are also locations that I know, because, you know, they feature a lot of real life locations. Meanwhile, in games like 720 and Skate or Die, you just kind of went around this fantasy world. It was more like a fantasy version of skateboarding. And, you know, Neversoft, to me, 29 per Skater, you know, which Raph worked on, and he worked for Neversoft for a long time, you know, they really respected skateboarding as an art form, and they wanted to bring the whole culture into a video game. And I think their true respect for the art form is really what led to the big success in both for the video game and for skateboarding itself.
Well, I was going to say, Ralph, it's interesting that you not only produced this movie, I mean, you worked on the games. So you've been embedded in this for decades now.
Yeah, so I worked on the first 8 titles, and then I actually went to work for Tony for 4 years as his director of new media. So my career and Tony Hawk have been like this revolving thing throughout my career. But just like you, Chris, so most either I, you know, as a kid. Hello.
Yeah, you're back. This is like every Zoom call that we now suffer through these days. It's like there'll be someone cuts off or someone's doing a background.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay, man. It's okay. Just
No, but like you, most of the guys on the team did not skate. There was probably 2 or 3 of us that had skated before. I just pushed my skateboard around. It was another form of transportation if I didn't want to use my bike. Chris Rausch, who's a designer on the game, and he's also in the movie, he skated a bit, but the rest of the guys never really had skated before. So most of our influence and most of the information we got were from the pros, who, you know, like Tony and Jamie, and they provided a ton of information for us, and to kind of keep it as legitimate as possible. But also, we wanted to make sure we were making the gamers happy, and not just making some skateboarding sim that's
I mean, that's the thing that made it. That's the thing that made it so unique, is that the players were real. And it wasn't generic, right? Like player one, right? You can choose Tony Hawk. You know, you could.
Yeah.
I mean, like all those little customizable aspects of it. So was it, you know, when you got Ludvig involved, was it difficult to kind of round everybody up? Because I mean, you really got everybody in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, not so much. I had built up 8 years of relationships with these guys. I helped them, you know, put their characters in the game, get their sponsors in the game. So I had a lot of personal relationships with a lot of them. Tony, Rodney, Jamie, Chad. Those guys were fairly straightforward. I gave them a call. I told them what I was doing. They kind of trusted what my production skills were from their past relationship with me. So that made it a bit easier. So yeah, that was, you know, and if I need information for people, I could hit up Tony, and he would always help me out. So it was very similar to back in the video game when we needed, you know, if we needed trick help, if we needed to name a trick or something, I'd send videos to Tony or Cab or any of the guys, and they could help us out. So it was similar for sure.
I also, one of the other aspects that's explored in the documentary, and I want to get back to Tony because he's the thread throughout the entire doc, is Tony telling his story, because kind of his success with the video game was also in parallel to a lot of other success that he was having in his career. But one of the things that I thought was really great about the doc is, and one of the things people might forget about that game, is how great the music was. It wasn't just about the gameplay. The bands that really became popular, and these were not like super well-known bands. These were not huge. All the bands that were not huge bands, but after the game came out, they became huge bands. tell me what it was like to kind of discover that music and then getting them also to be involved in the documentary.
I mean, you want to go first, Ralph?
Yeah.
Or?
I mean, go ahead, Ludwig. Yeah, you go ahead. Go from a fan perspective.
For me, my dad was a punk rocker, so he know a lot of the songs that were in the game. So when I played first game, he'd hear Dead Kennedy's Police Truck or Suicidal Tendencies, and he'd actually know, so he'd sing along or whatever, and it was awesome. It was basically my introduction to Southern California skate punk and stuff like that, and ska punk too, which is still probably my favorite genre of music. So the soundtrack itself is just amazing, and I think that was the thing that they always kept consistent throughout the franchise. And even in later games, they started having a lot of rappers, that were fantastic. It was probably my introduction to NWA as well. Yeah, I know that's kind of weird, but they had a song in Target Theater 4. Obviously I was kidding, I didn't have accidents. I was still a kid at that time. I didn't listen to any gangster rap, and then I heard Express Yourself and Public Enemy by the time I get to Arizona. Yeah, I was sold.
Well, the doc has like a really amazing feel, because even though I don't skateboard, if you just have watched any skateboarding event on ESPN, or you've caught videos on YouTube, I remember that they would sell, like at skate shops, they would always sell these DVDs of like crazy stuff. Like when you've watched those videos, it's amazing. And I think the film has that kind of feel, in a way, the film feels like one of those bootleg DVDs where you'd see tricks, but it's like a legit documentary. You know what I mean? Like, but
yeah.
Ludvig, that has to go to your skills as a filmmaker. So I'm assuming that was your intent, because it really does come off as like the energy of the doc, which I think is great because it's under 90 minutes. Which I really love. And it's just like, you want more, but it's like, it's such a fast paced, intense, like the amount of history that you get in there, the music and just the footage that you were able to dig up is just crazy. So what went into putting all that together? I mean, it's like you've made the ultimate skate, documentary.
Wow, thank you, man. That's a huge honor. That's a huge compliment. Well, obviously, I mean, I've always watched skate videos, and I've kind of seen the evolution through that as well. I think the first skate video I ever got was probably Birdhouse: The End, which we do feature in the film quite a bit. And putting all that together, I mean, it's kind of similar to how showing off the Tony Hawk games and their progression. We also show off skateboarding and its progression. And by the end of it, I really wanted people to kind of feel like there was a correlation between, how skateboarding was kind of misrepresented in the mainstream, and then Tony Hawk's Pro Skater picked it up, and it not only put it in the mainstream, it also progressed the art form in some sense. So yeah, I mean, well, about your question, obviously I watched so many skate videos, and we had contacts with some of the filmers as well, including Jamie Mossberg, who shot The End, Eric Hatch as well, and we also had a terrific guy, Ian Borden, who helped us out, providing so many remasters of all those skate videos. And, putting those together, it was awesome. Obviously, I took out pretty much the best moments from all those videos and put it in there. And there's a lot of good stuff. We also shot some of the footage ourselves by the end, the more modern stuff. But yeah, I mean, it shows off a great progression, really.
Yeah, first of all, Ralph, I can tell you're distracted. Is that because you're getting Tony Hawk on the line? I just want to make sure we might be able to talk to Tony.
No, I texted him, but he just I don't know. I'm telling you, he's got a little bit busier schedule than Ludvig and I.
All right. Well, maybe on a future episode of the podcast. Maybe when we do,
if he hits me back.
We should definitely do like a watch party or something with this film. Like after it's out and most people have gotten it, we do these watch parties at Film Threat, like on Fridays. We'll just like pick an indie movie that's fun to watch with a group, and then we just get a bunch of people all watching it. We kind of press play at the same time and all watch the film. This movie is like, it's made for that, because it definitely has like a fun party vibe to it, or at least that's how I felt when I saw it in a theater, which was fun. It's amazing to me now. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is the Tony Hawk game going to come to next gen consoles now? I know the PS5 is coming out, sometime this year. We unfortunately we didn't have E3 this year, and the Consumer Electronics Show is now canceled. So who knows where we'll be with this, but there
everything's canceled. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's really, yeah. I mean, but like, what is there's going to be a next gen version, right? Has that been officially announced, or is that just rumored, or am I starting a rumor?
Yeah, it's not officially announced. You're probably rumor. Yeah.
I would like to officially start a rumor that a next gen version of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater series is coming to PS5.
Actually,
I have now started the rumor.
Actually, I just remember a thing. It's that PlayStation 5 will actually be backwards compatible. It'll be the first PlayStation system since I think the PlayStation 2 to have backwards compatibility. So I think their plan is to have a lot of those PS4 games that they're now releasing by the end of its cycle to be playable on the PS5. So it won't be an official release on the console, but you will be able to play it, I think. I'm not 100%, but I think that's what I read online.
Well, if this lockdown goes through 2022, we're gonna need a new game system, and we're gonna and the backwards compatibility is great. To me, I love that because I buy a lot of used games. I'm not gonna lie, I pick up a lot of games used. Used or digital when they're under $20. When they're cheap, that's when I'll pick up a used game. I'll pick up a digital game when it's like, it's $4.99.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah, on sale.
I'll pick. On sale. On sale is good. But no, this doc is super fun. Tony Hawk. I really learned a lot. Not only about behind the scenes of the game, but also just about Tony Hawk as a person, which just really impressed me. Like he really went into detail, which I don't think you ever really get to see or hear about, because people talk about, well, I did this deal. He actually talks about the details of the deal. And kind of the best deal he ever made was a deal he didn't take. And he goes into detail as to why. I thought that was great, because you always hear people be very coy when it comes to business and how the entertainment industry works. What it was really refreshing was to hear Tony just say, well, they offered me this. I didn't take it. Smartest thing I ever did. He really, I just appreciate that was included in addition to all the skate stuff. And I got to do a shout out to an old friend from the past, Scott Pease, who I met when I worked briefly.
Cool.
In the video game, I worked very briefly for a company called Digital Pictures in the 90s for Tom Zito. That's where I met Scott Pease, who went on to have huge success, working for obviously EA and doing the Tony Hawk games and
Activision.
Activision. That's it, right? What am I saying? Activision. Scott was always really cool, and I was so happy to see his success when he went on, from Digital Pictures to groundbreaking games with Tony Hawk.
Scott was the guy that pretty much.
I'm losing you again, Ralph. Sorry.
Is it any better or worse?
I don't know. Hey, it's what can you say?
I'll just let Ludvig finish it.
It's better than getting the beer bug, I guess, at this point. But these calls it's better than that. But we used to do these podcasts in person. But this is how we have to do this now. With if you can tolerate the technical glitches, I would say that my production value on this show is maybe as good as Colbert. I think we've got a fancy logo at the beginning and the end. Yeah. If you're watching the video version of this, but no, I'm such a fan of that game, and it just really introduced me to bands. I mean, obviously I knew a lot of the old school punk bands because that's where I came from, the Dead Kennedys and just all that. Exactly. Old school punk, man. But you've got an interesting rollout plan, right? Like with the release of the movie, it comes out, correct me if I'm wrong, is it middle of August sometime? What's the date when it's coming out?
August 18th.
August 18th. And will there be theatrical? Is it going to be VOD like everything, or what's the plan at this stage?
Yeah, at this point, we're going to be on all the major VOD platforms, iTunes, Amazon, in-demand, DirecTV, and then all of the other kind of cable networks and on-demand platforms. We had planned to do a theatrical, but COVID kind of took that away from us along with everybody else.
Right.
We may do something in LA. There's some drive-in things that are happening. That's still up in the air. I'm not sure how that'll chase.
I'll be there. I'll be there. I've been going to the drive-in every week, dude. The drive-in is the best. If you've not been to the drive-in, there are 3 close to me: the Mission Tiki, the Paramount Theater, which I just discovered, and the Vineland Theater. It's not the Pacific Vineland anymore. I guess the ArcLight owns the Vineland, which is 4 screens, and they play 2 different movies on each screen. So movies are starting to roll out. I mean, that Russell Crowe movie Unhinged, I interviewed the director Derek Bort on a previous episode of the podcast. That movie comes to drive-ins August 21st. Anyways, 3rd week of August or so. I mean, it's an action thriller about road rage, which is actually the perfect way to experience that movie is at the drive-in. But no, it's cool.
In your car,
Yeah, but I like the drive-in because you can text while you're at the drive-in. You can bring whatever beverage you like.
Yeah, I have fond memories.
No, drive-ins are the best, man.
As a teenager, and packing your friends in the trunk and all that stuff. Yeah, I did plenty of that.
Oh, I was in the trunk. I was always, I had a group of older friends, and since I was little, when I was 14, before I could drive, I was the guy that got through. And not only that, I'll tell you a weird story. So I was in the trunk, and they didn't want to open the trunk to let me out. And I was in this old Chevy Impala. I had to slide through the back quarter panel, which was rusted and bent out. And I was able to slide out. And that's how I snuck my way out of my friend's car, this old Chevy Impala, and then went back in the car to watch with them the movie. They're like, yeah, we're not opening the trunk. You have to slide through the back quarter panel. Okay, weird.
Those are good friends.
Yeah.
Well, but I think the drive-in is awesome. I really hope you do an event there. But either way, this movie is super fun. It's a crowd pleaser, and I know because I saw it with the crowd. And congratulations again, Ludvig and Ralph. Pretending I'm a Superman. Where can people get more info? Do you have like a website or social media, or should I just Google you guys, or how do I just figured out how, before we did this, I just figured out how to do is it the umlaut over the U?
Yeah, that's my last name. Obviously, you don't need to Google that to get info about film. Luckily, you can just go to thpsfilm.com. You know, there's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and all that stuff, and you'll get a lot of info from there. So yeah.
I just Google. I don't know what any websites are anymore. I just type in, and it just what can I say? But I really want to thank you guys. I also want to thank our sponsor, Storyblocks. If you are a filmmaker like Ludvig and Ralph, you want to be a filmmaker, go to storyblocks.com/film threat. It's stock footage, resources, music, special effects, all sorts of cool stuff for filmmakers, and we use it at Film Threat. I want to thank you guys for being on the Film Threat podcast. Congratulations. The movie is a blast, and it just makes me want to play that game. I hope that the rumor I spread comes true. That the next gen version.
Yeah, me too.
Why would they not do it? Why would they not do a new Tony Hawk Pro Skater? I don't understand. I mean, like, to me, that's like a check waiting to be cashed.
We'll see.
Yeah. Ralph, blink twice if you're working on the new Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
I'm not looking.
That's a tell. That's a tell.
No, I'm not. No, let's start a rumor. Well, we should start a rumor that the 3 of us will be secret skaters in the next game too.
I would love to be that.
Somebody tweeted us that Ralph and I should be secret skaters in Tony Hawk.
You guys should be secret skater.
I'm totally up for it. Activision, I'm right here. You know,
I'll be in the background.
I'll
be in the background. I'll be a non-playable character.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Congrats.
Hey, thanks so much, Chris. Appreciate it.